Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today is the brew day for the Blackberry Bitter or the Bramble Bitter. Different ways of saying the same thing, to be honest. So the idea is to brew a best bitter and add some blackberries, so some wild foraged, locally sourced blackberries. Going to put some in the boil near the end, and then the rest is going to go into secondary fermentation. I say about a week after fermentation has done a really good job. Then I'm going to add in the blackberries, which I have already boiled and then froze, and then I'm going to add in from that point. So just try to keep it as sanitary as possible without introducing any wild yeast infection. Okay, so it's going to be roughly 6 litres, this one, total packet, well, total batch size, using Plumage Archer, carapils, torrefied wheat, amber malt and special B, just because special B just brings a little bit of raisiny currants as well, and that amber malt just a little bit of biscuit. So I'm looking for some complex malt flavours, if that blackberry just sort of dances on top of that as such. The hops I'm using is Brambling Cross. That's going to go in at 60, 30 and 5 minutes. Again, them hops can introduce some hedgerow flavours as well, so it's just really supporting the blackberries. And the yeast, I'm going to use the yeast that was basically from the dark mild that I brewed. So it's a culture from the dark mild, and that's looking good. Done a starter with that, that's took off. It's looking great, so that's going to go in. So you're going to see me, the next time you're going to see me on this is in the future when I'll be tasting it, and I'm going to show you now some brew day footage. It's actually just coming up to the boil there. We've done the mash, it's just coming up to the boil. I'm getting that on video, so you'll see the brew day footage, and then it'll be back to me tasting it. Okay, I'll let you crack on. So hit strike water temp for the mash, so I'm going to mash in now. I'll get the sample for the pH, and I'll get it up. I'll put it to bed for an hour, and then I'll get the boil on. I'm going for the mash temp of 69 on this because I want a bit of body in there. So I'll get the grains in now, make sure there's no dough balls, make sure it all gets soaked in. But yeah, 69 hopefully will give me a bit of body. It's only going to be a low ABV beer, could be around about the 4% mark. Like I say, it's a blackberry or bramble bitter, so I'm looking for like a best bitter in style. And then just going to add fresh blackberries picked locally. So yeah, so let's get this in. Let's try and get this in. See, that's a dough ball. I don't know if I can show you that, if I can find it. See, that's a dough ball. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So I put it in and then just push it up. It's amazing how these things do clump. You will see it. You just need to break them up. So I'll carry on doing this, then I'll get that sample and pH, check the temp before I put it to bed for an hour. That's a few little clumps there. There's another one. Just put them in, break them up. Smells like digestive biscuits, if I'm honest with you. Being quite clumpy today, this. Okay, so I've got my salts. I'm going for a malty with a slightly higher bitterness profile today for this water profile, for the grains, for the mash. So we're getting up to, well, we're just a little bit high still, so a little bit more stirring. Mix that in. I'm going to get my sample of pH. So what I do, move the bag, go down the side of the bag, just get a sample, small sample, that'll get returned. But that's going to sit for 15 minutes, and then I'll do the pH after 15 minutes and any adjustments. I'm trying to get around a 5.2 to 5.6 in that range with pH. Sitting at 70, need to get it down about one more degree, and I'll, like I say, put it to bed for an hour. Okay, I'm happy with that. We're on the 69 degrees, so I'm going to cover this up now, let it rest or mash for an hour, then I'll get the heat up, get it to a boil. Make sure that lid is on as firm as possible before we put it to bed. Cover on, well, towels. But yeah, this hopefully might lose 1, possibly 2 degrees overall. I'm not too concerned about that, it's only stovetop brewing. There we go, back in an hour. So we've had a 60-minute mash. I'm just going to do a mash out on this. So I'm going to raise the temperature to about 75 and then let it stand again for another 10 minutes. That's just basically, it helps sort of rinse the grains, the heat, and then it pushes out a few more enzymes. But basically it just helps the grains just rinse through in that warmer water. So mash out is now complete. Raise that to 75. It's been stood for 10 minutes. So now what I need to do is get this bag out, rinse it, and then get to a boil. So what I do, get this bag, grab it, make sure you got some gloves on. It can be quite heavy as well, depending. Oh, just knock the camera there. And what I've got is a rack. So let's put the rack over the top of the pan, and then you just let the grain bag sit on top of the rack and just let it drain through. All that works. You can feel the weight in that bag. I squeeze the bag as well. Some people don't. I've never had a problem, to be honest. Definitely some weight in that bag. But as you can see, squeezing it, see it all coming outside there. So there's a lot of work still in there. There you go. You want to get as much of that as possible. I mean, as you know, all your hard work. Smells so biscuity as well. Unbelievable. But yeah, I'll carry on with this. Another tip is you've got the lid, so it just saves your hands the heat. Use the lid, put some pressure on it. Get as much of that out as possible. So what I'm doing here, I'm getting basically a sample, very small sample for the refractometer, just to see what the pre-boil gravity is. So it gives me a guide on what sort of final gravity, original gravity I'm going to get after the boil. So there's my refractometer. All I'm going to do is pour a small sample, as you can see there. So that's telling me my pre-boil gravity is coming in at 103.3. So what you can see now is we're just hitting the boil. That all that on top is protein from the grains. So you can just stir that back in. Just making sure you're not going to get a boil over early at this point. So we started a rolling boil. Time to add in my 60-minute hop addition, which is Bramling Cross. So yeah, nice rolling boil there. There's my Bramling Cross. Gonna go in. 60-minute addition in. 30-minute hop addition, Bramling Cross. We're just coming up to 10 minutes before the end of the boil. So now I'm going to add my locally sourced, locally foraged blackberries, about 100 grams at this stage, just in the bowl. I'm going to put it straight in the pan because I do filter it out at the end. This basically just want to try and get a bit of flavour off this, if I'm honest. So 10-minute boil also helps. The boil will help sanitise. Sorry about the alarm. Just that's that button. There we go. Blackberries in the boil. Give them a quick stir. Now what I'll do, because that would have took it off the boil, I'll bring it back to the boil and then set the 10-minute timer. 5-minute hop addition going in. Bramling Cross. I don't know if you can see, the actual wort has changed colour since we added them blackberries. Definitely got a bit of a blackberry hue going on now. So 5 more minutes, then start to think about cooling it down. Okay, so that's a 60-minute boil over. Just show you them now, them blackberries. I've taken the colour out of them. And yeah, I'm going to let this cool. I'll put some Irish moss in to try and clump some of them proteins together when I filter it out the tap into the cooling pan. So I'll give this a stir. I'll let it steep for about 30 minutes. Then I'll transfer for cooling. So it's cooled down to pitching temp. So let's get it in there. Demi-john. You can see that the colour has definitely carried over from that small amount of blackberries.
So this is my little haul. So we've got blackberries or brambles. We've got 500 grams in the end. I'm going to stew this down, no sugar in it, and then I'll freeze it for when I want to use it in the bitter. So the bramble bitter, blackberry bitter will have 500 grams of the fruit added. I look forward to trying that. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little video. So now we're in November. This was brewed back in September, and as you can see, it was the foraged blackberries that went into this. I've got a feeling, first time I've done a blackberry beer or bramble beer, and what I did, I put them blackberries into secondary, so the fresh blackberries that I put on the stove to kill any germs, froze, then went into secondary. And I also used some in the boil. Now, I know if I do this again, next year now, I won't put the blackberries in secondary, because the beer, before I put the blackberries into secondary, was really nice, as in it looked really good. It was like a clear looking, well, fairly clear looking beer. And then, without really thinking, when I put the blackberries in, this went into what looks like now a fruit beer. So it's a bitter recipe for the base. It's got Bramling Cross hops. So yeah, so you know it's got Plumage Archer, Carapils, Torrefied Wheat, Amber Malt, Special B, and it's got the Bramling Cross. I always struggle saying that. And it came out at 3.8%. So it's a real good session beer. But next time, yes, I want to do it. I might do it 2 ways. If you enjoy it, I've not tried this yet. I know what it looked like when it come out of the fermenter into the keg, and it's been keg conditioning as well, this, so it will have some yeast in there, but after the first couple of pours it'll clear a little bit, but you'll see now it's not going to be super, it's not super clear. I know it's not super clear because it's more like a fruit beer now because of the blackberries have gone in. So let's get it tasted. Anyway, just wanted to show you this as well. This is my picnic tap, they call it. So you can see it's got a quick release lock on this end. That's a quick release lock. That goes on my keg on the top there, and then you've got a tap here. So you have, on the kegs, you've got an in and out. So you've got for gas in and for liquid out. Basically, I've got what cylinder is it? I think it's 5 litre CO2 bottle setup for my kegs. But before I did, obviously been brewing now for a long time. Before I did that, I had this little gadget. So you can see there, it's a regulator, and you have these little gas bottles. Now this would never ever be able to force carbonate a beer. Probably would, but you go through a lot of them and a lot of messing. So what I used to do was do the keg conditioning and then use this. This goes into here. I've connected a tube, and then this goes into the gas in, and I can take this wherever I want, and I'll have beer with the CO2. The CO2 is not feeding into the beer, the CO2 is helping push the beer out. So I could take this to parties, picnics, whatever, and I'll have CO2 on hand with one of these little canisters. What I also invested before I got the bigger CO2 bottle was one of these, and this is an adapter which goes into this regulator, and that is for SodaStream CO2 bottles. So they're so big, so a lot more than that, a lot more CO2 in them, and I can connect that and off I go. So it's just got the two options. So really, this is more like portable, or if I'm being really lazy, I can go and watch the football in a minute, and I can take that into the living room and have that next to me and just keep pouring. So yeah, so let's let's see if I can get this on here without making a mess. So basically, first thing to do is make sure it's pulled right back. Turn, that's your nozzle, that's your dial for your pressure. So make sure that's right back. Get this in. You'll have a little bit of a hiss, but don't worry about it. You just got to try and be quick as you can. There you go, little hiss there. Now this sits on top of the gas in. There we go, just tighten them up because it's been a while since I used it. Okay, so now the dial on here, just what you hear that? Just filling that keg up. So all I've got to do now is put the liquid out with my picnic tap. So these again, just push on. There you go. And you can see, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, some of that beer is starting to come out from the pressure. So I'll just slightly back off on the pressure. And you also have a pressure release valve, listen. So that's knocked me down now to about 10 psi in the keg. So basically serving pressure. All very mobile, isn't it? So you'll see, because this has got a thin tube, if you had a thicker tube like that one, this pours out very quick. But with a thin tube and the length, it helps slow the flow. So let's get this beer in the glass. Just checking on that. There we go. You can see that is very lively. I'll get another glass because that first pour was lively and a little bit yeasty because it's keg conditioned, so let's get another glass. Okay, so we're back with another glass. Let's get it in there. And you'll see now what I'm saying about the colour. Whereas before it was had a nice hue of blackberry. It's now taking on the fruity colour, I'd say. So it looks like a fruit beer. So there you go, that is basically my keg setup. So I'll move this and I'll be back. Okay, so we're back. So there's the beer in the glass. So let me just show you the colour. That is the blackberry bitter. So you can see the colour there. There's not a lot of carbonation. There's a little bit of carbonation going up, but it's just got a nice form, a nice head. So you can see it's hazy, and that's because that fruit went in secondary. Now, if I wanted that to be clear, next time, just leave it in the boil. But yeah, so it's a very hazy looking black. It's not black currant blackberry colour. It's ready, and obviously the bitter before it was like an amber colour. So it's a bit of a, yeah, I don't know what colour to call it. So you can see that through the light. If I take the light away, let's see. It's not the best lighting in here, but sorry, there we go. That's the colour. Hopefully you can see that. I can see that there. I can't even give that. I can't describe it. The colour. It's a muddy colour. Muddy, but I know it's ready. Maybe if I turn the main light on, does that help? Yeah, it's very, very close to being, I'd call that muddy colour. So, yeah, what would I definitely do next time? I wouldn't put the blackberries in a blackberry bitter in the secondary. I'd leave it all first, all in the boil, and then I'd get past that look. So it's a look, not impressed with the look. Well, let's try a taste. Like I say, told you the grain bill, told you the blackberries are gone in it. They went in like in the boil and they went into secondary. So 3.8%. Cheers. So it smells like blackberries. It's just got that blackberry aroma, which is overtaking the malt. Not getting much malt there, but yeah, that's a blackberry aroma. So that wasn't what I was looking for either. So not every homebrew is what you want it to be, but if it tastes okay, then it's still a success. Cheers. It's definitely a fruit beer. I've definitely changed it from a blackberry bitter into a fruit beer. Now, the mouth feels good. It's just got blackberry, the wild blackberry taste. I'm not picking up a lot of the malt, but there is a little bit of the malt sweetness there, which is just helping the tartness of the blackberry. If that looked more appealing, then I'd be pleased. But the look is just a little bit. I've let myself down there. Have a look. Smell, like I say, it's blackberries. Taste, it's blackberries. So it's blackberry all around. It's really easy drinker. I'm not going to bother me drinking it. I'm just a bit disappointed. It wasn't what I wanted. So it's not like, it's terrible, it's a drain pour. It's a nice beer, but it wasn't what I was wanting to achieve. So that, back to the drawing board. And I know the mistake, and it's not to put the blackberries in secondary. I keep saying it, but that's what it is. If you go and watch my video on the Bush's Bramble beer, now that is superb. That is clarity, nice subtle taste, and fantastic, really easy drinking beer. This is easy drinking, got nice flavours, but just feel let down a little bit by the colour. But I know where I've gone wrong, and I know how to fix it. Carbonation's really low, which I like. It's keeping a nice head, a little bit pinky that head. But yeah, it's homebrew. I'll put up with it. I'll go in again. It's easy enough to drink. That's the main thing. Session 3.8. It's going to be one of them. I'm going to end up drinking that pretty quick because it is quite easy to keep going back. It's one of them drinks. It's a nice beer, but it's just let me down a little bit by looks. But it's good because it means I can go back and try it again. Okay, thanks for watching. Sorry it's been a bit of a long one, and I've shown you the keg and how I can turn it into a bit of a mobile. I might do another video on that, a bit more of close-ups. But yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers, and I'll see you on the next one.